So the purpose of these animated lectures, and there's going to be a few of them as we go through, is to look at the different aspects involved in this research module. And the first thing we're going to look at is the research question. And so the first thing we need to think about is what goes into a research question. What is a research question? So we need to think about a number of different things. The first thing that we need to think about is, what is your concern? What is it that you're interested in? What is it that you want to explore? What is it that you really want to think about? And for you to be able to really to grasp that, we need to go back to the things that we looked at last semester. So really looking at, what is your ontology? What is your truth of the world? What is your way of knowing and of the world and seeing the world and beliefs about the world? And that will help you to define the area of your pedagogy or leadership that you want to look at. We also want to look at your epistemological position and your pedagogical position. And so looking at those, again, we looked at those last semester, but really thinking, what is it that you believe the purpose of education is? What is it about pedagogy that your pedagogical approach, how would you describe it and consider it? What do you believe the purpose of education is for children, adults, society? And it's those huge questions that will really help you just to sort of think about what it is that interests you and where your focus should go. So you're considering all of those different aspects. And you also really need to look at what is it that you're passionate about, because you're going to explore this area for quite a long time and you're really going to go into depth into it. So try not to choose an issue that you think might be the sort of the right thing to do. Really choose something that you're passionate about and that you care about. We then want to think about what you think, what you'd like the impact of your research to be, because we need to think about whether you want to prove something, disprove something, whether you want to influence, whether you want to just add a voice. The impact of your research is something that will really help you to frame, again, the aspects that will be involved within your question. So, what I'd like you to do is to do a task now. So you'll need to pause. And I want you to revisit the areas that we covered last semester. So, how would you describe your ontological position to someone else? How would you describe your epistemological position? And what do you think is the purpose of education? What is it that you're passionate about? So stop for now and pause and really consider those different aspects and make a few notes and write those down, because you're going to contribute those to the online forum. Then the next thing that you need to think about is, what is it that you wish to do within your research? So, do you wish to explore? Do you wish to inquire? Do you wish to measure? Do you wish to test? They're all going to create a different way of questioning. They're all going to create a different language within your question and a different area for you to look at. And it's important for you to really think about those aspects. You might want to look at your own practice, a piece of self-study action research, or you might want to look at the practices of others. And in doing that, you might want to really look at those closely and examine, why do they do things the way that they do them? How do they do them? Where do they do them? When do they do them? Really looking at the different aspects of someone's practice in detail. And you might just want to look at one of those. And you might just want to take someone's practice and just look at one aspect of that. Why do teachers use starter activities? Why is that something of interest? Why do we have particular types of policies? The issue that you look at might be a global issue, so it might be something that's international. It might just be a national issue, and that's going to be different because where it's situated matters. Or it might be a local issue, really local to your school perhaps, or your region. We really also then need to think about a focus, because you have certain limitations on this piece of research, and one of those is time. You only have a particular period of time in which to undertake your research. Therefore, you must have a narrow and focused remit within your question that is doable within the time frame that you have. That's so important. You need to think about where you're going to undertake your research and be really realistic about that. It would be lovely, I'm sure, for all of us to do a piece of research based on the education policy in Hawaii. However, unless you're going there or can get the funds to take you there, then it's probably more likely that you're going to have to look at the location that you're based in. So it's about being realistic about where you'll undertake your research and thinking about who will be involved in it. How many people, what's a realistic figure, and who are they, and how easily will you be able to get hold of them? So all of those factors will really start to build into your research question. And once you've framed your question, we are able to then look at the concepts behind that, the conceptual framework which underpins the area that you want to look at. And so that conceptual framework is the concepts that we'll be exploring to really look at our area. So if, for instance, we take homework, so let's take an example to look at it. The concepts that would form the conceptual framework underneath homework would be things like teaching and learning, parental engagement, home environments, social justice, government policy, school policy, national policy, the science of learning. All of those concepts would be areas that you'd need to explore. Now, there's a huge range there. You could be reading for a year. So it's important then to consider that it's the actual way the question is going to look at the issue that will, again, focus on a part of that conceptual framework. So if you're just going to look at what constitutes good homework, then you're within those concepts going to be really looking at teaching and learning and the science of learning. You're going to be looking at those areas. Whereas if you're looking at the effects of too much homework, then you're going to be looking at social justice, child's experience, parental engagement, home environment. You're going to be looking at a slightly different focus within those concepts. Now, when we look at that area of homework, we can start to frame different types of questions. So say our question is, what constitutes good homework? We're looking at a what question, and we're looking at, by saying that it's good, we will have a measure in there. So we're saying, well, what constitutes good homework within pedagogical practice? So we need to then think about, well, how are we going to define good? So there's a whole range of reading around that as well, that very word good. Who determines what's good? So we're adding to our conceptual framework because we're looking at literature around judgment of good. Homework, can we be very specific? We need to be specific about what that term means within our question, because it doesn't just mean general tasks. We need to think about what it actually constitutes. So we really need to define the terminology that's in our question. We then need to think, well, is that actually based on our ontological approach? Is that what I care about? What constitutes good homework? Is that what fits the way I see the world, the way I see pedagogy? Is that what I care about? The quality of homework. And so we've really then got to link back to ourselves and think, is this a question I want to find the answer to? Is this what I want to know about? And I really need you to think about that. So the last task that I want you to do is to actually answer the following questions and start to explore your own potential questions. So we want you to press pause, think about an area that you'd like to explore, write down the concepts that you think you need to explore in relation to your chosen area, and then write down a few different questions that you might consider. Examine how these might impact on the focus that you've got, the focus of the different framework, which areas that you'd be, and link back to who you are, thinking about, does this really fit with my my ontological approach? Is this something that I'm really passionate about? Is this something I'm really interested in? And really look at those questions and think, is that the thing that I want to know about homework? Is that the thing I want to know about the area that I'm looking at? So that's your task.